welcome back to Legend of the Stars qualifying tournament number 3. Well, we are going back to the top bracket now. We're going to go and have a look at Bermuda Locket, where ZLO is taking off WinstonSmith. We've seen both of those guys earlier on in this tournament. They're both playing fantastically well, but now they're going to come head to head, and one of them is going to get sent down to the losers bracket. It's no good to be called a loser, but it has to happen for someone. We're going to find out who it is on Bermuda Locket. Let me just grab an intro video for Bermuda Locket, and let's go. Alright, so this is everyone's favorite map, and of course I kid, because it's not. Alright, let's go and have a look at what ZLO is doing. He is going to get his first land factory underway. We can see a ton of power, and he is going to need it because there is so much reclaim around here. The first engineers out of the blocks are going to be pulling up a whole ton of rocks, and interestingly we've got second and third air for ZLO. That is going to be interesting. He's going to get engineers and transports out, I would suspect. WinstonSmith is going to get his first land factory down. He immediately gets to work on a power grid because he will need all of that for his reclaim that he's going to be scooping up. So we're going to see a bit of navy, I suspect, on this one. We're going to see a lot of drops though first. We can tell by ZLO's build order that he is really going to be pumping out the NGs and the transports and trying to make sure those stay alive. I'm not sure that we'll see too much bomber action, but maybe to get across the other side and do a little bit of damage to the expansion. But he's going to try and drop out to here, to this side of the island. He's going to try and drop out to here and get a foothold, and these guys are going to really have to fight it out on these expansions. Meanwhile, they're going to get some engineers in the water. They're going to throw some naval factories down, and they're going to start pushing navy back and forth. But don't be fooled, that is critical to the success on this map. If you lose navy, you're going to end up with cruisers, and they are going to demolish your base. So for ZLO, if he can get UEF cruisers, those guys are going to fire out those missiles with a very difficult to intercept spacing, and he's going to be able to lay down a lot of damage at a lot of range. Meanwhile, though, Winston, being Cybran, he's going to have decent range, but those nano darts from the cruisers that he is going to have, not quite necessarily as good at taking out eco. Good against shields, but he might struggle a little bit if it comes to that. But hopefully it doesn't come to that, because a static game where the cruisers are just peppering away at each other's base, that is a little bit dull. Alright, we've got engineer out on walking duty. Well, actually, he doesn't walk, he has tracks, so he's going to roll out for expansion. ZLO is going to try and get his eco underway. Both these guys, though, if you look at the scoreboard, 3 mass per tick on the board. That is because they are running solely off reclaim. So what we really need to do is just look at that total, or even the reclaim figure, and we can see how it's really going, and it's actually quite even, but Winston just a smidgen ahead with a couple of hundred extra mass reclaimed. A scout is out from ZLO, and it passes the corresponding scout out from Winston. That is going to get shot down pretty quick. Smart, though, I would suspect. No, a little bit of a lack of attention there from Winston is going to allow that scout from ZLO to get overhead, and it's going to get eyes on. So ZLO is going to get a bead on that transport. If he has any interceptors, he really should send them now, but it looks like he's actually lacking interceptors. His transport is completely unguarded, and there's a couple of inties coming across, so it's more important for Winston to take out that transport than the scout. How is this going to play out? The the transport takes a little bit of fire, but the interceptors really focusing on the transport is leaving them very, very vulnerable. They're going to get a few shots away. It looks like it is going to pay off, though, and that transport is going to go down momentarily. So ZLO, unfortunately, not able to keep that alive. That's actually a really huge win there for Winston, because ZLO's expansion is going to be massively, massively hampered. We can see this transport already out. There's 3 engineers on board. Those guys already coming in to land They'll be there in just a second, and that's going to let Winston start to get a factory and a base established. That's going to be really difficult for ZLO to dislodge, especially if he can't drop his own because of the damage he just sustained. There is a single mech marine floating around here. There are 3 engineers already building a base. A single mech marine probably not going to be able to do a lot, given that there's a factory online, and it will be able to pump out a tank if need be. It looks like it's just engineers at the moment, but we can expect a few combat units out from there soon. Fortunately, ZLO did have a backup plan in a way. He had this engineer that walked all the way out, so he actually does have the opportunity of throwing out a factory and producing some engineers to get across there. Not nearly as good as dropping them, but it will suffice in a pinch. We have a restored transport capability now for ZLO. He's got his T1 transport out of the factory. He will momentarily load that up, and he'll try and get across to this left, I would suspect, but we can see Winston actually already away with his transport, and he is going to get there first. That's going to be a little bit of a problem for ZLO, because by the time he gets into land, he's going to find that Winston has already started to establish himself. ZLO is using bombers to try to harass the situation over here. He's dropping bombs on the factory to try and factory lock it. Of course, the bomb's doing a lot of damage to the units that are being built under there, but it looks like he's going to switch up and take out those engineers now, which is nicely done. But still, a single bomber against a factory producing anti-air, not really a winning proposition. He will be able to slow down the build a little bit by taking out those engineers, but not able to have a huge effect. Alright, we have got 6 engineers finally landed for ZLO. Those guys will be able to start getting their construction underway. A little bit late to the party, but better late than never. And that is going to very quickly get a factory up, a second factory. We're going to go 4 factories without building any mixers or radar or anything. That's going to be a little bit faster because Winston really not focusing that much. He's got his first factory up, second one just about completed. He will end up with 5, but ZLO is going to get those up nice and quickly as well. So we could be in for a decent fight over on the left side here. Winston, we can see, has already moved to get himself a bit of a navy. He's got a single naval factory up and running with a second one about 50% completed. That's going to give him some capabilities, but ZLO really not pushing for the water at all at this point. If he doesn't get his self into gear, then he is going to find that he is outclassed in the water, and he doesn't want that. He's not going to be able to make up for it with T1 bombers. It's not going to play out like that. There we go. His response is to edge build some factories up here. That is nice to see. So he will have a naval presence, just not tucked back in his base. So one of those is already starting to produce frigates. The other factory starting to get built. ZLO doing a pretty good job with securing the skies right now. There's a really nice number of green interceptors that are taking out everything that Winston has got. That's going to do a couple of things. It's going to keep those bombers alive, allow them to continue harassing the expansion. If they can continue killing engineers that are trying to build factories, then ZLO is going to end up with a lot more build capacity over on that part of the island. And the other thing it's going to do is keep his transports alive so that he can continue to make drops and harass Winston and just try and cause all sorts of trouble. Drops like this, where he just nips in there with an engineer, pesky little engineer, and really just starts to build. The first frigate is out now though for Winston. Is Winston aware of where the factories are? I do not believe he is. I don't think he scouted that, and he's sending that first frigate directly into the bay right up here, and he's going to find nothing. So there's going to be one of 2 things happen. He's either going to find that factory that really does exist down here that is starting to pump out units, or he's going to assume that he doesn't have any naval contention and he is going to not push hard for navy. He's going to come in and try and take out those those mass extractors, but unfortunately the cliff gets in the way. He needs to back off just a little bit. Did he manage to scout? Let me just grab WinstonSmith's point of view for a minute. Yes, he did. He got eyes on, so he is aware of the naval facilities now. So there goes that game theory. Meanwhile, on the left here, ZLO is starting to make a little bit of inroads. It looks like there is just a little bit more online for ZLO. Wow, look at the factory count up here. He's sitting on 8 T1 factories compared to just the 3 that Winston has been able to put together. So massive advantage. And look at these bombs managing to just absolutely smash those T1 units into pieces. Very nice indeed. The bomb will go down, unfortunately, but still the job is done. So it looks like this left side of the map is going to go ZLO's way, but he hasn't been able to make any dent at all on the right hand side. And we can see a really good stack of factories up here for Winston. Might just bring this up to +1 to get through it a little bit faster. Alright, ZLO is even managing to get some units down on the causeway to the starting part of the island. For Winston, he's going to get a couple of tanks in just to cause a little bit of trouble. There's not a lot to stop him, but there are factories. Those factories will be able to produce a bit of defense for Winston. But Winston just looking like he needs to shut down a couple of critical things for ZLO. One of them is the Navy. He has got 3 frigates in there taking shots at those naval factories, so I think this is going to do a pretty good job. And in response, ZLO is actually going to switch up his naval facilities back to the main bay where Winston thought they were initially, because he probably is going to lose that now. Is he continuing to build out of them? I'm not sure that it is worth it, because those units are getting destroyed as they are built. Although the submarine is awfully close to completing, he might get a single Tech 1 sub out for his investment. It looks like that is the case. So that is just going to slowly take some damage again onto those Trident class frigates. Not really enough to make a huge difference, but every little bit counts. ZLO looking very aggressive on this part of the island now. He's already got this massive amount of build capacity set up. He is pouring those units out, and he's going to start just sending them down towards this part of the base. But there are going to be about 10 factories online for Winston, and those guys are going to be able to push back very hard if he can get them online. But whether he can really has the time to do that, we'll have to see. He's got a bit invested into T2 infrastructure. He's got T2 mexes. In fact, this is a potentially very good win here from the striker. It is sitting there taking away this Tech 1 mass extractor, which is upgrading and continuing to draw 7 mass per tick to upgrade. That is going to be very sad indeed for Winston. There's actually another one back here, which is in exactly the same boat, and down goes the almost upgraded mass extractor. So very nicely picked up there from ZLO. It looks like Winston is actually going to have to employ his ACU to keep all of these units at bay. He's going to bring that guy in, do as much damage to those Tech 1 units. Meanwhile, the same sort of thing is happening on this side, and we're probably going to see ZLO's ACU in the similar sort of position, which is exactly what we do see. He's just going to hang around there, make sure that he can stop those units from pouring in. So very much a mirror match right now, although it looks like there's maybe a little bit more firepower from ZLO pushing on in. But again, I don't think it quite is the number that he needed to be able to make a huge difference. He's pushing in. If it was just the units against units, I think he would have it. But the ACU is there. There is a point defense as well. He is not going to be able to completely destroy it. These T2 max extractors have finished their upgrades now. Meanwhile, the striker has had 3 veterancy with 7 kills to its name. That's an MVP right there. But ZLO, unfortunately, just getting a little bit stuck with these units on the left-hand side, and those are going to get eaten. But it has drawn most of the units away. It has cleared out the point defense as a potential opportunity for ZLO to get in with a bunch of T1. He will need to bring his interceptors in, though, to fend off those gunships. Looking at the number of interceptors, I'm not sure that ZLO still has that air superiority that he was enjoying, though. It looks like Winston has pushed hard on the air game, and he probably has got enough to take ZLO out, and he's going to force engagement. He gets a fantastic turn. He gets a whole lot of damage onto ZLO's interceptors without anything in return. And we have a bit of a pause here from ZLO. ZLO is trying to fix his very old PC so that he can continue playing. There we go. Now, while this has all been going on, it looks like there is a Salem-class destroyer out now. That is going to be very, very problematic, because the range on that thing, plus the fact that it can sprout legs, that is going to be very problematic for ZLO's war effort. He's already lost one of those naval factories. The other one is coming under fire now. And the Salem is actually just content to sit back, and look how quickly it deals with those mass extractors. Those shots just raining down and peppering away at the eco. ZLO sitting on only 69 to the 93 of Winston. Let's see if the reclaim has been able to make up for that. Well, definitely not. We've got 72k to 56k in favour of Winston. There's just a ridiculous advantage there that I don't think ZLO can come back from. He would need one of his trademark cheeky drops, I think, in order to have any chance of doing something here. If he was able to get back in here, kill, well, I don't know, what could he kill at this point? He really needs to kill that eco, but the eco is very, very spread out across this. He should probably pause to take out the T2 mass extractors. This one here is very unguarded, would be a very nice target. He really needs to stop and make sure those go down. But it looks like he is intent on just trying to get into the back of Winston's starting base and cause trouble there. But I'm not sure how well that's going to work, because there are gunships floating around. There actually is no point defense. I was half expecting a Cerberus turret to be up here, but there is no such thing. We have got just a Tech 1 point defense. So those guys are going to be able to do a very good job of warning away that Tech 1. That's low. Oh, here goes the drop. How did I not see that? The drop coming in from ZLO. There is no anti-air capability, so all the interceptors are not on hand, but the gunships are following in to start dealing damage to these as soon as they land. And ow, they go down very, very quickly. Ouch. The target here is probably the Tech 2 power, I would guess, but look how quickly those Tech 2 gunships deal with all of those. Of course, those are renegades as well. They've got area of effect, so no trouble at all for those guys to obliterate the entire drop. So we did get the drop that we were hoping for, but alas, it was to no avail. I'm not sure if they even got any rounds away. Look at the amount of damage on these power gens. There is 0. Winston asserting his power in the air. He is making good use of those renegades. They are, well, they are able to stem the flow for the time being, but what's happening up here is ZLO has actually managed to beat Winston in the T1 push, and he's actually making his way back towards there. But I think ZLO is aware that he isn't going to be able to finish it now, because he has just taken too much damage from the Navy. There's a cruiser out that is putting a dash to any air hopes that ZLO might have wished for. There is a whole lot of T1 bombers. That's nice to see, but unfortunately for ZLO, he is feeling like he just can't do it. That pack of renegades, absolutely unbeatable right now. ZLO has put so much investment into this T1 stream, and now it is just being absolutely killed off by renegades. And of course, ZLO can blame the lag. That is a fair excuse. Many a rage quitter has claimed it, but there we can see ZLO has given up at this point, and that is the end of that. Alright, unfortunately our friend ZLO not quite able to pull that one off. That pushes WinstonSmith through to the next round. We're getting pretty short on rounds now. We're going to, well, I think it might even be the semi-finals. I would have to check challenge. Let me just check that real quickly. We have got the semi-finals. So Winston is going to be playing Famsletja. And the winner of that is going to play whoever can come back from the bottom bracket. Alright, I think that's going to do us with Bermuda Locket right now. Next up, I think we have Roanoke Abyss.